And INS Arihan successfully is tested across a long-range nuclear missile system. Mohammad Shami replaces Bumrah in India's T20 World Cup squad. The BCCI has confirmed Mohammad Siraj and Shardul Thakur as backups. A banner reading "Overthrow the dictator and national traitor Xi Jinping" appeared on a bridge in Beijing. This rare protest, just days before the key National Congress of the Chinese Communist Party, has created a big buzz. While anger against Xi's zero-COVID policy, which is the toughest in the world, is growing, the Chinese president looks all set for a historic third term.
Images that have stunned the world. Rare protest in Beijing ahead of Chinese Communist Party Congress for the re-election of President Xi Jinping for an unprecedented third term that could well make him president of China for life. The protest banner roars. We want food, not PCR test. We want freedom, not lockdown. We want reforms, not cultural revolution. We want respect, not lies. We want to vote, not a leader. We want to be citizens, not slaves. The lone protester wearing an orange jacket and a yellow hard hat was photographed on the Sitong Bridge in Beijing. He's reported to have set some tires on fire and chanted slogans on a loudhailer.
Xi Jinping is certainly a polarizing individual. People who dislike his policies suggest that the problems with the policies are a result of the leadership model, that it's because he has demonstrated strongman tendencies that policy effectiveness has decreased.
The lone protester is being hailed as a hero in China. His calling for civil disobedience and smashing of COVID testing centers and the prevention of Xi Jinping from becoming a dictator were being discussed extensively in China before Chinese authorities launched a massive exercise to scrub the internet clean. All searches with the words Bridge, Sitong, Beijing, protest are reported to have been scrubbed clean. But online, the lone protester is being compared to the lone protester at the Tiananmen Square in 1989, whose heroic actions stole the advance of Chinese army tanks in Beijing.
And he's established himself as the sole penultimate leader of China. He's not beholden to the leaders around him. He is the core. He's not part of it. And as a result, we've seen some policy excesses. We've seen some challenges in China's economy. We've seen the COVID, including censorship, policing, to further control and enhance the party's control over the everyday lives of Chinese citizens.
Chinese President Xi Jinping's zero COVID policy has led to widespread protests across China, showing hundreds protesting a lockdown and shortages of food, medicines, and other essential supplies. Images of tanks outside banks with people unable to withdraw money, to a virtual collapse of the real estate sector, and people refusing to pay installment for homes have also gone viral. But analysts argue there is almost no major threat to the Chinese president, as the Communist Party is set to give him an unprecedented third term. This will make Xi Jinping the most powerful man in China after Chairman Mao Zedong. President Xi has also consolidated his control over not just the army but also the paramilitary forces, and is believed to have jailed potential opponents in what the Chinese government claims is an anti-corruption purge. There is little real threat to Xi Jinping as he prepares to remain President of China for life. Bureau Report, India Today.
One of Mao Zedong's famous sayings roughly translates to a tiny spark can set the prairie ablaze. What we saw on that Beijing bridge, is it a sign of subterranean tension that's brewing right ahead of the Congress party meeting? Or is this just a one-off lone wolf kind of attack which can't really be attributed to anything else? Joining us on this broadcast is Vishnu Prakash, former spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs, well-known Indian diplomat. With us also is Lieutenant General Syed Atta Hasnain, former General Officer commanding of the 15 Corps. Andrew K.P. Luing joins us, China strategist and analyst from Hong Kong. We've got Kalpit Manikar joining us, a fellow for the China Strategic Studies Program at the Observer Research Foundation. Let me go across and get a sense from Vishnu Prakash first on this is a very tense moment for China in general and Xi Jinping in particular, because you've got the big Communist Party meeting where if everything goes just the way it's been planned, Xi Jinping will be appointed president for another 5 years at least. On the other side, you've got this one protest, very rare. It's not India or the United States or Britain where protests are common. Would you think of this as a one-off lone wolf kind of attack? Nothing to be taken very seriously, or do you think it suggests that there is tension in the air in Beijing at this moment?
Rahul, good evening. I think both the comments are correct. There would be tension. There would be a lot of misgivings, but that will be quiet. There's a lot of internal rumbling. For the simple reason that in his 10-year rule, President Xi Jinping has treaded on too many toes. He has eliminated lots of opponents, putative rivals, and certainly they are lying in wait. But also what we saw today was, I think, was a one-off thing. But the very fact that the one-off thing also could happen is also significant, because Beijing is under literally a lockdown. The entry, the exit is being tightly controlled. Beijing or China is a police state. Everybody is under watch. So under such circumstances, for two large banners to be unveiled is something which is noteworthy. But as they say, one swallow does not make summer. I do not see that this will become a trend, because President Xi Jinping is in complete control. And it's his coronation party. I don't think that anybody will be allowed to spoil the party. And it's a choreographed event. It will go according to plan. That is most likely to happen. Rahul.
General Atta Hasnain, your sense on these posters seen on a Beijing bridge, given the fact that security is at a high, given the fact that everyone's being very guarded, this does appear a bit odd, given that this is Beijing and not New Delhi.
Rahul, thank you. Thank you, first of all, for having me on your show. Very important day, yes, for China. We are aware of the fact that for the last couple of weeks, there was a bit of a speculation going around about the future of President Xi himself. We were hearing of reports of coups, etc. It turned out to be mostly rumor mongering. But obviously, there is somewhere an element of truth could have been there, a chance could have been there. Let's compare this to Tiananmen 1989. The difference was, okay, at that time also a lone wolf kind of a action had taken place, strongly opposed by the state. There was no social media, there was no internet at that particular time. Today things are different perhaps. Networks are there, but China has got its own networks. China has got its own controls over them. They are already reputed to be scrubbing everything clean on the internet, although the internet is live at the moment. So I do think that this kind of the controls which China has established are extensive, and therefore they have safeguarded it from all angles. I can only quote one instance where you've had a case some years ago where a Uyghur terrorist group right from Xinjiang managed to go up to Kunming and carry out a knife attack at the Kunming railway station. Now, that was a very strange thing happening in a country like China. Today, I don't think that is possible. The networks are very much down, diluted. And I would go along with Ambassador Vishnu Prakash completely to say that this seems to be a one-off kind of a protest which they've managed to sneak through. I don't think is really going to matter. But as a last point on this, even if the president gets elected for life, there cannot be a guarantee today that his progression subsequently is going to be as smooth as it has been in the past.
Why do you say that? Explain to our viewers, because that's a common
Yeah.
thread from what a lot of analysts seem to be writing internationally, that from here on, life for Xi and life for China gets much tougher than it's been so far.
Yes, that's an interesting aspect which is being commented upon differently by different people. The lockdown itself is a major issue. You see, with transparency of the internet, largely the transparency of the internet, there is a lot of information available about how other countries have handled it. For example, India. Why India? I mean, you take Europe or take America. Today, there are hardly any aspects of lockdown, etc. People are coming out. Economies are being allowed to flourish, come back into their own. That's the way out. But the very conservative methods which China has followed, which President Xi has followed, don't seem to be finding much favor within the population. Because if the population has got deeply affected, I mean, after all, China was the first country which got affected by COVID. It is known as the Chinese virus virtually. So I think the comparisons are very strong here. And people are looking to, and obviously the internet itself, the kind of information flows today, democratic principles, people looking for votes, the kind of demands which are going around, they're looking for respect, they're looking for reforms, they're looking not for lockdowns, they're looking to become citizens, proper citizens, by being empowered citizens. These are the kind of trends which are there. No guarantee that all this is going to go viral tomorrow. No, under China's system, it cannot go viral so quickly. But the potential is there.
Okay.
The possibility of seeding networks is there. And that is why I'm saying that this may not be so as smooth as it's been in the past.
Andrew Luing, sitting in Hong Kong, your perspective on what we saw in Beijing, a rather rare protest by China standards, this?
I think that there is a tendency for the West to be fixated on this historical event of Tiananmen Square with the single person standing in front of the tank, as if nothing has changed since then. But the reality remains that today's China under the Communist Party was very, very different from what happened on Tiananmen Square so many years, decades ago. In fact, that under the tutelage of the party, the livelihood of the entire population of the Chinese people have changed miraculously. And a recent study by the Harvard Kennedy School about 6 or 9 months ago showed over the years, the Communist Party government has been known as the government best supported by its people compared with countries around the world, including the United States. In fact, multiple ranks above the United States. The studies show that as much as something like 80 to 90% of the population actually support the rule of the Communist Party because their lives have been completely changed.
No, but the fact is, one of the reasons why, Andrew, the Communist Party's regime has been as stable as it has is because of the fact that they have been able to deliver to the people of China unprecedented economic growth, unprecedented even in the history of mankind. 3 decades of sustained growth, which now seems to have its wheels coming off. Therein lie the challenge. The fact that this particular protester is protesting against COVID, he says he doesn't want any COVID tests, he wants to eat, no restrictions, he wants freedom. That is also, whether it gets voiced in this fashion as it did in this protest or not, but that is an under the surface kind of sentiment which a lot of people feel across China.
Well, sure. I mean, the pandemics and the downturn, not only in China's economy, but in the world economy, with inflation rising all over the world, has engendered a great deal of dissatisfaction worldwide, not just in China. And of course, the pandemic, with the lockdown in China, there are some people remaining, getting more and more disgruntled. But I think that in the overall scheme of things, there's still a great deal of support for the Communist Party. And of course, in spite of the skepticism and accusations of China's zero COVID policy, but I think that the government has recently gone out to explain that if the rate of death obtaining in the United States, 1%, of Americans die because of the pandemic. Now, 1% of China is 4 million people, and mostly the elderly. I think that the party already explained that would be unacceptable for China, even at the cost of a slowdown of the economy. But I think that overall, there is no doubt that Xi will get his third term, because, as explained, he has many levers of control, and then he's generally supported by the hierarchy, not only by the people, but within the Chinese Communist Party. The reason why he wants a third term is to take China to a higher plane. He already highlighted that China is facing unprecedented challenges and opportunities, both internally and externally. Internally, you mentioned some of the problems with demographics, with economy slowing down, and of course the pandemic. Externally, because of the epical confrontation with the United States. And then the world's situation is getting worse with the war in Ukraine and so on and so forth. But I think that he has succeeded in rallying most of the people in China. China is now.
How are the next 5 years of Xi Jinping's rule likely to be different from the last 10? I don't think anybody who's a serious observer of Chinese politics will assume that there can be any twist in the tail. This isn't Rajasthan, where Gehlot is scheduled to be Congress president, then he decides he's not going to be president. He'd rather stay on in Jaipur. This is Beijing, where it seems the decks have been cleared for Xi to get another 5 years. What are the next 5 years of Xi likely to mean for the world? How is he likely to be different from now on?
Yeah, thank you, Rahul. Thank you so much. And I think to understand what the future holds for us or holds for the world, I think we need to understand what the past has been and what is the past record of Xi Jinping has been. Now, the past record of Xi Jinping has been to really initiate a sea grab in the South China Sea. Now, that went kind of unchecked, and because it didn't really, I think the world was very slow to realize the ramifications of the militarization of these islands. And now that has really emboldened Xi Jinping to basically eye sizable portions of, of Indian territory, and of course Taiwan, which remains the, that will be probably something that will cement his legacy if he manages to capture it. So I think there is a definite kind of urge to leave the PLA, as it were, off the leash.
Okay, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, your sense of how Xi, given that he's now facing some kind of a blowback on account of his zero COVID policy, given the fact that the wheels of economic growth are finally beginning to slow, the population is aging, is Xi likely to be different in his third term? And if so, in what way, according to you?
Rahul, let us look at the personality of President Xi. He has rolled back whatever little freedoms were there for the people in China. He has cracked down on the real estate developers, on the tech giants. And basically, his mantra is to make the party supreme. He senses threats from anybody who becomes popular. The fate of Jack Ma is very well known. And then he is a very ambitious person. This is very well known. He wants to be at least regarded at the same level as Chairman Mao, if not more. And he has turned everything on his head. Now, China, after Chairman Mao, had a collective leadership. The standing committee of the Politburo, would discuss and debate. They would have serious disagreements, but they would publicly have put up a united front. Today, what we are seeing is a one-man rule, and you're seeing personalized dictatorship of President Xi Jinping. He is going to pack the Politburo and the standing committee with his proteges or cronies, whatever you call it. And if there were any checks on his authority, they would all go, because he has been ruthless in eliminating all opposition. Now, with this kind of situation and the dream that he has sold to the people of China of the great rejuvenation of the great Chinese nation and wiping out the century of humiliation, he is going to be more and more aggressive because that is what he believes. He believes that the time has come for China. He believes that the US is a fading power. He believes that and by the way, he has the military muscle because no navy has grown at the speed which Chinese navy has. So taken all these things together, I don't think that one would see any give on his part because that is not his style.
No, but what can he potentially take? Andrew Quing, the big question, of course, is on India and on Taiwan. We already have the People's Liberation Army amassed right opposite the line of actual control, and in Taiwan, the PLA Navy continuing to make aggressive maneuvers. Do you see the next 5 years as being the window where she moves in on Taiwan, or do you think that's an exciting headline or an exciting international story, but something which is unlikely to really happen?
Sorry, are you asking me?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay, thank you. Well, as far as Taiwan is concerned, of course, the presidency has long made it plain that unification is part and parcel of the China dream. And the China dream is that China is destined, according to his mandate, to become an advanced socialist country by the year 2049. The 100th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China. And that's the deadline for the unification of Taiwan. However, most of the Taiwanese people don't want unification, but nor do they support independence because they fear that independence would trigger Armageddon. So most people in Taiwan would like to maintain the status quo. And then the United States, in spite of the lip service to the One China policy, has seemed to be hollowing out the whole concept of One China by fielding more and more senior officials and so on and so forth. So recently, after the Pelosi visit, Beijing has published a white paper on Taiwan, stressing the need for peaceful unification. But how is that possible with most Taiwanese people do not wanting unification? The fact remains that the momentum is there. The momentum is in the sense that Taiwan's economy is heavily dependent on China. A million Taiwanese are working in China with their businesses together with the members of the family. And then, of course, after the Pelosi visit, Beijing has demonstrated its ability to blockade Taiwan if push comes to shove. But then ideally, the outcome would be peaceful unification through negotiations. I'm afraid that the Pelosi visit has handed a godsend to Beijing to accelerate this process to force some kind of a negotiation for eventual peaceful unification, perhaps on more general terms compared to what happened to Hong Kong.
Okay. General Atta Hasnain, from the perspective of the Indian military, how do you see our adversary change? Make no mistake, this is India's #1 national security challenge, way bigger than any threat posed by Pakistan army or by Pakistani terrorists. How do you see the maneuverings of the PLA across the line of actual control change or evolve on the back of Xi getting another term?
Rahul, to specifically answer your question, one will have to go into a background, but I don't want to do that because that may take time. So let me be very cryptic on this. Firstly, I think that once he's elected, his emphasis is going to change more to internal rather than external. Because I think the challenges are going to be very much largely internal also. And we are seeing the build-up taking place. Midway through the next 5 years, things may change completely. I do also feel that the external dimension for China at the moment, Xi Jinping attempted to perhaps go out and do more than what was required. This whole issue of coming and trying to dent India's confidence and take the fight to India on the borders, etc., hasn't really resulted in anything. It hasn't given him anything.
No, it has. In fact, our entire move towards drone warfare expediting weapon purchase, making the Indian army feel the fact that there could be a real war with China. Earlier, Pakistan was seen as the bigger adversary.
Rahul,
now realizing that China... So it's led to a lot of change. India actually benefited because you got a wake-up call.
That's a different question, Rahul. You asked me something different.
Yes.
This is a different issue. I mean, how is it affecting, how is the PLA going to do it? Well, what the PLA has done has had all this effect which you have just spoken about. If you had asked me that, I would have told you the same thing. But the point is, what is they going to do in the next 5 years? How is the PLA going to maneuver? This is what you asked me.
Yes.
What I'm trying to tell you is that the PLA is not going to be as aggressive as it has been in the past, because I think this realization should go home very clearly that Taiwan is not winnable at the moment. There's no guarantee of winning. Neither is the LAC any guarantee of a victory. Ukraine has very clearly demonstrated to the world that conventional warfare today too may not be winnable. You see, this notion was attached normally to hybrid and counterinsurgency and things like that, long drawn-out wars. But even conventional wars are becoming unwinnable. And this is one issue which the Chinese will be very, very careful about. Because if you don't get victory on a battlefield in which they're attempting to go in, is going to dent their future, the future of 2035, the future of 2049. So I do feel the PLA is going to be a little more conservative in its approach on the line of actual control. But contrary to that, yes, you're absolutely right. They have instigated us, they've triggered us, they've initiated everything as far as India is concerned, which was required for so many years. And there's a transformational effect taking place in the Indian Armed Forces, the appointment of the CDS, the theaterization concept, the Atmanirbharta concept. All this is a revolution in military affairs within India which is taking place. And that's all happened because of what they decided to do.
Oh, absolutely. These are things that were being spoken of even when General Hasnain was in service and even long before that. But now there's an expedited move to try and actually implement some of those changes, because the Indian Army has also seen the real face of the enemy and therefore now preparing for actual combat, if it comes down to that. God forbid that it does, but at least Beijing also knows that they will get a bloody eye. This is where we wrap up the Newstrack. We will cover Xi Jinping's big Congress next week. Lots of special interviews, conversations, roundtables. It's a big moment, not just for China, but has massive consequences for the rest of the world, particularly India. Coming up on the other side of a quick break, Delhi's air quality is set to deteriorate as burning of paddy stubble by farmers in Punjab intensifies. Will there be an air emergency soon? Details coming up on the other side.
Hey, I noticed something new. You've started using a new body lotion.
Funny.
I'm so sorry for the delay. I was on another call. It just kept going on.
No, Papa. You have been a steam bath.
Steam bath? At home?
Two steam bath he takes.
Go to your homework.
It's 7:20 already. The kickoff's in 5 minutes. Get all the boys. We have the entire place to ourselves, man. Not working?
Of course it is. But I don't want you guys to be using this bathroom. So use the other one.
Kerala's public health. All political parties traveling from different parts.
Armed with facts,
Looking at political back.
she takes the news by its horns.
Do you think the future of these students are not hampered?
Fierce, bold, and direct, setting the tone for the biggest stories from every corner and every angle. Expect nothing but the unfiltered truth.
News first, niceties later. Watch me, Nabila Jamal, on India Today.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
You're on board the Newstrack. With rains and strong winds gone, Delhi's air quality is set to deteriorate fast. What's worse, stubble burning in Punjab has started increasing. With the AAP government in charge both in Delhi and in Punjab, can a capital air emergency be prevented this time, or will all of Kejriwal's claims just fall flat?
It's that time of the year again. Farmers in Punjab and Haryana have started burning stubble on their farms. A few weeks from now, unless the state governments get their act together, the national capital will face its annual nightmare, smog. Scientists gathered for a brainstorming session on air quality at IIT Delhi on Thursday. They have warned that the stubble burning that has been delayed by a month due to rains will happen simultaneously and could cause much severe pollution than usual. The Bhagwant Mann government in Punjab, which will face its first litmus test, is formulating a plan.
चीफ मिनिस्टर साहब पहला क्लियर कर चुके हैं ये जो समस्या है ना मुकदमे वगैरह दर्ज करके हल होने वाली नहीं है ये समस्या एक बहुत बड़ी समस्या है हमने छोटे किसानों को बोला कि 2-2 3-3 एकड़ वाले को बोला कि जी आप नहीं कर सकते तो हम आपकी वो भी मत कर सकते लेवल
Farmers on the other hand are claiming they are not getting any aid from the government.
इसका जो है ना कणक तो बीजी जाती है बाबूजी ये आलू लगाते हैं जिस जौन से खेत में उसमें फूकने बगैर हल्ले कोई नहीं हैगा ये या तो फिर गवर्नमेंट इसका इंतजाम दे हमारे कोई हम ना जलाएं इसको कोई जरूर हमको शौक नहीं है जलाने का हमको सिर्फ इसका मजबूरी कारण ये काम करना पड़ता है जलाने वाला
The opposition is targeting the Aam Aadmi Party government over the issue. The Akali Dal has questioned Chief Minister Man's back-to-back visits to poll-bound Gujarat.
मैं सरकार ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿ ਗੁਜਰਾਤ 'ਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਝੂਠ ਬੋਲੋ ਆ ਮੰਡੀਆਂ 'ਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਦੇਖੋ ਕਿ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਝਾੜ ਨਿਕਲੇ ਇਮੀਡੀਏਟਲੀ ਕਿਸਾਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਐਡਾ ਵੱਡਾ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੁਣ ਵੀ ਗਿਰਦਾਵਰੀ ਕਰਾ ਕੇ ਤੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬਿਮਾਰੀ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੁਆਵਜ਼ਾ ਦਿਓ ਤਾਂ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਵਿਚਾਰੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਅਗਲੀ ਫਸਲ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਬੀਜ ਸਕਣਗੇ
The Haryana government claims it is taking strict action against farmers who burn stubble.
इस बार बहुत एक अच्छे रिजल्ट्स हमारे मिले हैं अभी तक के और मात्र 81 घटनाएं ही रिपोर्ट हुई हैं जिनके खिलाफ हमने FIR भी किए सब किया है तो लोग उसके लिए बहुत सतर्क हुए हैं हमने उसमें जो इंसेंटिव्स हैं 1000 रुपये एकड़ हम देते हैं और जो खरीदते हैं इंडस्ट्री के लोग उनको भी गौशालाओं के लिए जो अलग से खरीदते हैं उनको 500 रुपये टन अलग देते हैं
The state governments every year claim to be fully prepared, and almost every year, the people in North India choke over smog. Will this year be any different? With Kamaljeet Sandhu and Manjeet Sehgal in Punjab and Abhishek Anand in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
The BJP Aam Aadmi Party showdown over the latter's Gujarat party chief Gopal Italia has exploded. Today, Union Minister Smriti Irani hit out at Arvind Kejriwal, asking him why he'd not sacked Italia yet. Smriti Irani's attack came after a new video emerged of Italia mocking the Prime Minister's 100-year-old mother.
First, it was his comment on Prime Minister Narendra Modi, calling him neech.
आप नीच किस्म के आदमी मुख्य वड़ा प्रधान नरेंद्र मोदी मैं इस बात की पुष्टि नहीं करता हूँ
Then came the video in which he could be heard describing temples as places for exploitation.
મારી તમારી માતા બહેનોને પણ રિક્વેસ્ટ કરવી જોઈએ કે હે મારી માવડીઓ, હે મારી બહેનો, હે મારી દીકરીઓ, કથાઓમાં કે મંદિરોમાં તમારું કંઈ વળવાનું છે નહીં, એ શોષણના ઘર છે.
And now a remark terming Prime Minister Narendra Modi's mother, Hiraben, as dramebaz.
આ નીચ નરેન્દ્ર મોદીની સભાનો ખર્ચો કેમ નથી માંગતા તમે? નીચ કિસ્મનો માણસ, એનો ખર્ચો માંગો. ને હીરાબા આવીને પાછા નાટકો કરે. આપણને બોલતા શરમ આવે એટલી મોટી ઉંમરના વ્યક્તિ વિશે, પણ એ લોકો નથી શરમાતા. 70 વર્ષનો મોદી થવા આવ્યો, હીરાબા પોતે 100 એ પહોંચવા આવશે, તોય મારા બેટા બે માંથી એક નાટકો બંધ કરતા નથી.
Union Minister Smriti Irani launched a scathing attack on Aam Aadmi Party Supremo, condemning his silence over the series of atrocious and insulting remarks made by Gopal Italia, the party's Gujarat face. She further accused the Delhi Chief Minister of being the brains behind a conspiracy to malign Gujarat's Asmita.
आपको भले ही ये शब्द गुजरात के आम आदमी पार्टी के किसी कार्यकर्ता के लगते हों, आदेश लेकिन अरविंद केजरीवाल का है.
Her attacks did not stop there. The BJP MP from Amethi dared Kejriwal to come on the ground in Gujarat and echo Italia's sentiments.
You do not spare a 100-year-old lady. Her only crime is not that she's in politics, but that she gave birth to Narendra Modi. Your leaders and workers seek to punish her and abuse her. Mr. Kejriwal, the people of Gujarat have now decided to stand in your judgment.
Aam Aadmi Party continues to back Italia. The state unit gave its chief a grand welcome upon his return to Gujarat. Senior Aam Aadmi Party leader and Delhi Minister Gopal Rai, in a bid to turn the tables, accused the BJP of being at the forefront of abusive culture.
पूरे देश में 365 दिन भाजपाई पूरे देश का अपमान कर रहे हैं. जिसकी मर्जी उसकी मां बहन कर लेते हैं. कोई वीडियो जारी नहीं होता है. डर बात वीडियो का नहीं है. प्रश्न ये है कि मोदी जी ने भी सरेंडर कर दिया. अब गोपाल इटालिया का वीडियो के आधार पर अगर चुनाव लड़ने की नौबत आई है.
From day one, Kejriwal has been stressing that his party will focus on its Delhi model to win Gujarat. But the series of controversial remarks by Gopal Italia tells a different story. Will taking on Prime Minister Modi directly on his home turf hurt or boost Aam Aadmi Party's prospects? Only time will tell. Bureau Report, India Today.
This is where I wrap up the Newstrack tonight. I hope you have a great weekend. I look forward to seeing you Monday evening at 8 p.m. Till then, from all of us here, goodbye, good night.
Hey, I noticed something new. You started using a new body lotion.
Funny.